Rise up, soldiers of the broken world. Put down your banners, let your rage unfurl. Stand against tyranny that's deep and old. Power to the people, hearts burning bold. False promises and corrupt schemes. Rip the veil off the deadly dreams. No more silence, no more deceit. We'll take back the ground beneath our feet. Oligarchs with the greedy hands tight. Central banks stealing our nights light. New world order creeping in disguise. We see through the facade and all their lies. Burn all their lies. Break right through. Break right through. Rise up, soldiers of a broken world. With tattered banners, let your rage unfurl. Stand against tyranny that's deep and old. Power to the people, hearts burning bold. False promises and corrupt schemes. Rip the veil off the deadly dreams. No more silence, no more deceit. We'll take back the ground beneath our feet.
Good afternoon. Well, evening now. Usually I do my stream in the afternoon, so it's a habit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Burn the Corporate Fiction. Burn the Corporate Fiction has arbitrarily declared Wednesday, July 16th, as Road Pirate Appreciation Day. And I would like to just take today to, promote the appreciation of the regulation of our property, the fining and the feeing for the use of it, the generation of revenue, so that the lieutenant of the local jail can drive a Ferrari, and that the all of the administrative judges can have nice vacation homes on the lake, or in the ski resort mountains, or what have you. So we really ought to appreciate that they keep us safe by telling us how to use our property, and causing us financial injury for not using it the way that they told, or even just for using it in general, paying for permission, right? So, no, I just figured that'd be a good title. Maybe draw some people in for an open panel discussion just on current events, what's going on, and, as usual, talk about law, government, conspiracy. I mean, what really is conspiracy anymore other than, 6 months away from fact, right? So, well, then again, conspiracy just means plot to do something. So, but so I put I pinned the StreamYard link in the chat on YouTube and Rumble. So you guys are more than welcome to come on up and join the stream this evening. But yeah, so I see over in the chat we've got Here I Am, Mojo Shop, William McLean, Secret Asian Man. Good to see you guys. Got several others that are watching that have yet to comment in the chat, but I'm glad everyone's here. So, well, there's a lot of stuff going on. Brink of World War III, Epstein list obviously not released, though I have my own opinions on that. Maybe we'll get into that tonight. Maybe we won't. I'm not really sure. But one of our fellow jurists, Benji Boodle, sent me this interesting video. I thought that I would start you guys off. We got Grouch with us tonight too. Good to see you, Grouch. Thought I'd start us off with this. Was an interesting take on something to do when you get into when you find yourself in a courtroom. Let me know what you guys think of this. Let's see here, baby.
you really don't have to know anything about the law to win against the system. The system counts on a plea bargain. Do just the opposite, and you will make the system give up. Insist on your right to a jury trial, or I should say, rather, a trial by jury. Demand an indictment. Tell the court that you waive the court. Waiving the court means that you are insisting on your right to have the people review the accusation against you, running a red light, speeding, what have you. Make the system commit to the great trouble of a trial. They don't want to do that in the DA's office. They don't want to do that at all. Insist on that, and you'll get an email saying we're dropping the case. It's called waiving the court, asserting your right to an indictment and a trial by jury. If more people did that, if the black people did that under the encouragement of their ministers, the system would collapse and prosecutions would be concomitantly reduced on the other end.
Well, it is interesting. Now, the reason I play that is because I do advise that no matter what, always fight it. Always fight the ticket. Always make them work for their attachments and their convictions, for their revenue, because 9 times out of 10, the amount of money it costs them to hold a court is going to be worth more than the securities that they generate from the interaction in the first place. So they're always going to look to make a deal with you. They're always going to look to try to keep you from going to trial. But I've said this many times, and that's one of the reasons I chose this as tonight's topic, is that the front lines of the war for our sovereignty are absolutely the motor vehicle codes, rather. This is, I've heard liberty defined as quite simply the freedom of locomotion. Yeah, as Grouch says, for real talk. If everyone went to court, he says, if everyone went to trial for just 1 year, the system would crash. Absolutely. You know, last time I had dealt with the ticket, they were literally corralling people in before you even went into the courtroom. You had to get in line and go up to the window, speak to the clerk, and the clerk would have you sign an advice of rights and consent form before you even went into the court. They're obtaining jurisdiction before you even have the chance to challenge it by getting you to sign an advice of rights and consent form before you even enter into the courtroom. That's insane. But people just do it, just like cattle, just corralled into a line. They'll go, yep, I got to sign this, never even questioning whether or not they should even be in the court in the first place. So let's break this down. What is the motor vehicle code? Motor vehicle code is a revenue code, okay? And it is the regulation of the use of your property. All of your property was mortgaged in 1933. Your estate was mortgaged in 1933 as a United States citizen. We show this all the time on this show. Okay, so we're going to lay some groundwork for new people in case they happen to be rolling into the channel for the first time. But just to show you, it's quite simply right here, March 9th, 1933, House Congressional Record, page 83, second paragraph on the left-hand side says, the money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar because it is backed by the credit of the nation. It will represent a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people in the nation, meaning they mortgaged your estate. All of your property is held in trust as collateral for the public debt. And part of the ancient law of mortgage is the lender has the right to the beneficial use of the property while the loan's outstanding. So not only is your property being held as collateral, but they're also able to generate revenue from the use of the property while it's held in trust. That is what the motor vehicle code is all about. It allows the investors beneficial use of the property while the loan's outstanding, so they can generate revenue for the use of the property. And because the United States corporation has a superior interest in your estate, that's how they were able to mortgage it in the first place, they are able to regulate the use of your property and tell you how to use it. Quite simply, the law that you're under is determined by your relationship to your estate, whether or not you are the heir and the owner, or you're under administration, you're a ward, essentially, right? Those are pretty much the two positions you can be in regarding your estate. And then your relationship to your property. Do you have absolute ownership of it, or does somebody else have a superior interest in it? When you go to the Secretary of State or Department of Motor Vehicles, depending on what state you're in, and you register your car. People do not realize this because registration has become just such a commonplace thing. But when you register something, you're giving the controlling interest of whatever is being registered to whomever you are registering with. Okay, so this was the trick of William the Conqueror way back in 1066. So prior to William the Conqueror, all the nobles in England had a allodial title, meaning they had absolute ownership. If you're a Christian, you read the Bible, you know that even biblically, kings couldn't just take people's land or tell them what to do with their land, because this is what law actually is. And even kings cannot break the law, right? Like King Ahab and Jezebel had to forged the seal of I forget, but King Ahab wanted this guy's vineyard, and he was sad because he couldn't get it. It belonged to him or whatever. He wanted his land. And so Jezebel wrote a bunch of letters and used this guy's seal pretending to be him and got him killed so King Ahab could take the land. But the point is they had to go through all that to take the land. Okay, so prior to William the Conqueror, kings and nobles had a allodial title. Then William the Conqueror's like, hey, you guys, in order for us to all have mutual interest in each other's land and protect one another's land, you should give your land to the king. So they all registered their land in what was called the Doomsday Book. And when they registered their land, they gave the controlling interest of the land over to the king. The king then gifted it back out and was allowed to regulate the use of it. That created feudalism. So then all of the extra laws outside of common law that were introduced under feudalism were merely the regulation of the use of property. And that is still how it is today. All laws outside of actual law, meaning did you violate somebody's free will? Is there a victim? Anything other than that is the regulation of the use of property and is the result of a trust arrangement or some sort of contractual relationship with the state. And that is what they're enforcing. They're not actually enforcing law. So it's very important to understand. Codes are not law unless they are in accordance with law. Statutes are not law unless they are in accordance with law. They take on the color of law when you agree to them. That is the only way that you can be subject to statutes and codes is by consent or some sort of presumption that you're part of a trust arrangement that you never rebut. You never rebut that presumption. Okay? So this is what's going on. When you're driving down the road and you get pulled over, okay, say you don't have a license plate, say you know better, and you know not to register your vehicle. Well, when the officer, the road pirate, pulls you over for not having commercial advertising on the back of your vehicle, because that's what a license plate is, when the road pirate pulls you over, what he is attempting to do is cause you financial injury for not conveying, meaning giving over, conveying the right of your property to be used as collateral for the public debt. Okay, so shortly after they mortgaged everybody's estate to back the debt, they created the Social Security Act in 1935. The Social Security Act was created as a underwriting account to secure the public debt. And then all of your important property, such as your automobile, your land, or anything of consequence, everything is linked to your Social Security account, because that is the trust of which you are actually a trustee, is the Social Security trust. Okay, so that's what's going on when you get pulled over for speeding. What are you being pulled over for? Not using your property, not using the property the way the administrators told you to use it. How can they tell you to use your property that way? Because it has a plate on it and they have a superior interest in it. So without that account number via your license plate or your driver's license, or without a way to attach to your Social Security number, they cannot generate securities and generate revenue. So that's why the cop is always taught the very first thing he does is, I need some ID. Why does he need the ID? Well, of course he wants to know who you are, but more importantly, he wants to have access to that account, right? That trust, to be able to create attachments in the event he's able to escalate this into either a ticket or an arrest or something, right? Because that's his job. They're not there to protect and serve. They're there to generate revenue for the banks and the bar association. That's their primary purpose. Sheriffs are de jure lawful law enforcement, but not when they're enforcing revenue code and policy. See, people don't realize, you hear the government talking about public policy all the time, but it used to be public law. It only became public policy when we stopped dealing with actual real people and we started dealing with trustees of decedent infant estates. Okay, so if you're unsure of what I'm talking about, and it would take a lot for me to go ahead and rehash how that all works, watch my previous stream so you can get caught up on what a decedent infant estate is as far as the 14th Amendment citizenship and the trust indenture and all that stuff. So I've got some, but here, just one other thing I can show you guys is pretty sure I pulled it up somewhere. Right, fiduciary foundations of administrative law. This shows you right here that the system of government, the system of law that we're under, the Uniform Commercial Code, is actually the regulation of the use of property being held in trust as collateral for the debt. This is what's going on. We got Sarah G joined us. Good to see you, Sarah. It shows you the emerging. This is a UCLA law review written by a lawyer named Evan J. Criddle. And it's called Fiduciary Foundations of Administrative Law. It says the emerging fiduciary model in administrative law posits that administrative agencies are endowed with authority to set regulatory policy. Administrative agencies are private third-party agencies that are imbued by the government with power to regulate the use of your property. And what is the regulation of the use of your property? Well, it's telling you how to use the property because it's under administration. But more importantly, it's fining and feeing you for the use of it and fining and feeing you for the misuse of it. Okay, and why are they able to do that? Well, they're able to do that when, it says right here, when Congress and the president acted as jointly as proxy settlers for the sovereign people, meaning they conveyed the controlling interest of your estate. Now, this is a confusing thing for many people. You say estate. Well, I don't have an estate. I don't have a golf course and a big stately manor and all this. Well, that's not what an estate is. I mean, that is an estate, but every single person, every single individual has an estate. The wealthy dude that has his own golf course has an estate, and the homeless guy on the corner of the road begging for change has an estate. The wealthy man has a large estate that includes an interest in a lot of property. The poor guy on the side of the road has a small indigent estate. He may only have a shirt and a cup with some change in it, but primarily the value of his estate is his labor and his personality. That's what an estate is. See, law has to assume that every single individual has an estate for the purpose of engaging in civilization, society, right? And an estate is pretty much all of the property that you have interest in, including yourself, right? Your labor, your personality. That's what an estate is. So when they say that President and Congress acted jointly as proxy settlers, they settled the property, the ability to own property. They conveyed that to the central banking cartel on behalf of the sovereign people in order to secure the public debt. So there's a little bit of boring stuff. Now let's get into some interesting videos of road pirates and whatnot, shall we? So let me stop sharing this for a second. By the way, I hope some of you come up and join me. Maybe we can have a interesting conversation on some current events as well. But if not, I'm going to start streaming more often so that we can have more opportunity to discuss some stuff. So this is interesting. Gino, one of our subscribers, sent this to me, and this is actually sovereign successes. So this is an excellent example of how to deal with the court. Listen to this individual just basically walks all over the prosecutor. It's absolutely fantastic. So check this out. This is a very, very, very good one. Okay, let me start this over. Whoops.
It was shot to me in a DM. Shout out to the person who shot it to me. Shout out to the person, the creator who put this up. This is probably one of the best examples I've seen of a sovereign, somebody who's not bar certified, standing up for their rights. Now, I want you to really pay attention to.
Just a little side note, amicus populi means friend of the people. Yes.
How she's asserting her questions and how it throws everyone else off. They don't know how to deal with it. This is a textbook way of learning how to behave and to question and to hammer and to keep them going. Listen to how the judge is not being authoritative. He's being defensive. Pay attention to everybody's voice and the things that they say.
The corporation that you ticketed is within the state of New Hampshire, yes or no?
Your Honor, objection. She can't give an opinion on a legal matter.
He didn't even pass the bar. How can
All right, so right off the bat, he comes with an objection saying that she can't give an opinion on a legal matter. I believe that she's educated enough to where she can. The judge sustains it, but her answer in response to the DA was pretty good too. He didn't even pass the bar. So she's throwing in some jabs while she's doing it. Still a good job, but keep paying attention.
he give any opinions on the legal
Objection sustained.
I don't even know how to be my prosecutor or I'd be up here.
Do you have any questions of the witness?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you said you write tickets for the city of Keene. How many tickets per hour do you usually write?
Maybe the average amount of tickets is like 30 a day.
How much are you being paid for this appearance?
I get my normal hourly rate,
So what is
which
that?
is $25 an hour.
That right there was crucial. Asking it. So this witness is being paid to testify against her in court, and she got the witness to admit that they are being paid to testify. That this woman is not there because she has a personal vested interest in resolving some harm or injury that was done to her. No, not at all. She's there on behalf of the state for a pretended injury, presumably a traffic ticket. And she is being paid to be there to testify against this woman. That is absolutely a conflict of interest and a violation of the law. It's fantastic.
$25 an hour.
Boom, and already we got action. This meter maid is so not used to being asked questions like this. She actually answered the question of how much she's getting paid to testify. That is, come on, conflict of interest. They're being paid to testify. I bet you the DA is screaming inside of his mind right now, wishing he can object, but he can't. Why? Because she's not acting like a normal public defender. She's acting like one of us, questioning the things that should be questioned that public defenders won't question.
Are you a cop or a deputized?
Oh,
Boom, we got more action. So she just admitted that she's not even a law enforcement, but is getting paid to testify. Think about the legal liability that has on the court, the executive branch, and everybody who's running the courts.
Who is the complaining party in this incident?
City of Keene.
Objection, non-responsive. That's not a human being.
Perfect. Did you guys hear that? Hold on, let's go back a little bit. See if we can. Let's go back to right here. Hear this. Listen.
This incident.
City of Keene.
Let's go back.
Law enforcement, but is getting paid to testify. Think about the legal liability that has on the court, the executive branch, and everybody who's running the courts.
Who is the complaining party in this incident?
City of Keene.
Who is the complaining party in this incident? The city of Keene. By getting them to say that, because that right there, it makes it, for one, most definitely a court of equity. Definitely not a common law court. Definitely. So what that means is that there must absolutely be a contract or some sort of trust arrangement. What I like to say, one of my personal favorite questions to use in the courtroom, is this a court of law or a court of equity? Right? Because the Constitution makes a distinction between the two, because anybody who knows law knows there's a huge distinction. Law is redressing the violation of someone's free will, an actual injury. There's a victim. There was something stolen, someone harmed. There was an actual real wrong done to a real one of the people, right? Equity is the enforcement of prior agreements and trust arrangements. So if they drag you into court and they're trying to financially injure you and they claim you did something wrong, but there is no living victim, then they're trying to enforce a contract. There is no other way around it. There's no way they can say that there's a way. There's nothing they can say, because that is a fact of law. Law is law. Law is, did you violate somebody's free will? Everything else is the adjudication of a contract or trust arrangement, and that falls under equity. Equity is basically a sister jurisdiction to law. Equity redresses the deficiencies of law, where law is too rigid and strict and black and white, which is good. That's what we want. Like Blackstone says, we prefer law without equity than equity without law, because law without equity, though hard and disagreeable, is much preferable than basically the whims of basically being subject to the whim of a judge. And so you have as many different rules of action as there are opinions and capriciousness among men. And that's what equity is, because equity basically determines if there's been a violation of contract or trust arrangement, but also equity determines taking into account mitigating circumstances. Does it change the reason that something happened, which can sometimes affect, how people view it? Whereas, so an example I use to explain the difference between law and equity, because I got it from Blackstone, so I can't even take credit. William Blackstone uses it, and he says, so say there's a ship and there's a crew on a ship, and the ship starts to sink, okay? And half the crew stays on the ship to save the cargo because they don't want to lose the money. The other half of the crew jumps off the ship to save themselves because they don't want to sink. Well, the half that stayed on managed to save the ship and get it to the harbor. Now, once they get to the harbor, they say, well, all of this cargo is now ours because we risked our lives to save this cargo. And if it wasn't for us, then this cargo would have sank with the ship. So it is now ours. And the people who jumped off say, well, we never, of our own free will, gave you our property. We've never transferred ownership of our property lawfully, so it's still ours. Now, lawfully, those people are right, but equitably, the people who stayed on the ship are right. So they can sue in equity and get equitable relief, either in the value of the goods they saved or of the goods they saved themselves, right? Out of the goods they've saved themselves. So now, equity is a case-by-case basis, because you can take that same circumstance of a ship about to sink, and you can say everybody jumped off except for one crew member who was too sick to jump off the ship, so he couldn't jump off, and somehow the ship made it to shore. Now, does that crew member have entitlement to the cargo because he stayed on? Well, no. And that's why it's up to the judge's conscience, because the judge would analyze that situation and be like, well, in this circumstance, yeah, the ship would have sank without these people, so they have an equitable interest in the cargo that was saved. And then in the other case, you can be like, well, that guy didn't have a choice, so he doesn't really have an equitable right to the cargo. All right, so that's equity. Law would just say, nope, they didn't give it to you, so it's still theirs. Even though you saved it and without you it would have sank, they still never of their own free will gave it to you. You are just assuming that because of, without you, there would be no cargo, that you have a right to it. So that's equity. And it's not law. It's very different. Article 3, Section 2 distinguishes between the two of them. So that's the question I ask. I say, is this a court of law or equity? Because if it's a court of law, there must be a living victim. If it's a court of equity, there must be a contract, prior agreement, or trust arrangement of some sort that's being enforced. There is no other option. So anyway, let's continue.
Objection, non-responsive, that's not a human being.
Overruled.
So is there a victim? And if so, who is it?
I object. This is the government.
Boom, she hits on another point. She says that where's the injured party? The DA goes, and he didn't get caught on the captions, but I'm pretty sure he said, this is the government. So what he's saying is that they know they're getting caught with their pants down, that this is a good question that public defenders never ask, that they're not ready for.
Yeah.
There has to be a victim for there to be there has to be cause.
Yep.
And there has to be injury. I'm not really referring to that. Well, I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to this.
Can I finish, please?
Oh, look at this judge being a good boy, asking please. Isn't that great? How often do you see that? Why? Because she has them worried.
Because she knows, and when you know the law, it's actually that simple. It's either law or equity, and if it's law, there must be a victim. So when you approach them like that, she didn't tell them the whole time we've been watching this. If you're just joining us, she asked a series of questions that led to this conclusion that, okay, where's the victim then, right? So are you being paid to be here? You know, what is your job? Do you work for the state? Oh, we've got Val. I haven't seen her in a while. How you doing, Val?
Hey, what's up?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole
I,
lot. How
I
long you
got
been up?
questions. I got questions.
You got questions? Okay, shoot.
I mean, I just joined, so I don't know what we were talking about. I don't want to be disruptive. But
Okay, so let's
tell
save
me.
your questions till after this video.
Absolutely.
So what's going on here is this woman is asking the court a series of questions to show that she's not in a court of law, that she's in a court of equity. I don't know if she's going to put it that way, but that's what she's doing. And if she, you know, and because it's a court of equity, there must be a contract or some sort of prior agreement that they're attempting to enforce in order to cause her injury. That's where and she just asked if there was a victim. And they're like, well, the city's the victim. And she's like, that's non-responsive. That's not a living person. That can't actually be the victim. And so now they're trying to, basically, they got caught with their pants down. So watch.
Now pay attention to this next move right here. This move where he grabs his ear, I believe he's signaling to the DA, but pay attention and watch.
Yeah.
This goes to her motion to dismiss, I think, so I'll let her ask a couple of questions related to that. So the objection is oral for now. Go ahead, Ms. Freeman. Would you like to repeat the question, please?
Is there a victim in this matter, and if so, who is it?
I have no idea. I don't understand what you're asking.
Oh, this video is so great for so many reasons.
Yes, it
because
is.
not even the meter maid understands the full ramification of
Right. It's just business as usual for these people. She doesn't even understand. None of these people know the law. Right. So the one who knows the law the best, maybe the magistrate does, but definitely the lady asking the question, she knows the law. Nobody else, not even the woman who wrote the ticket, knows the law. It's just, you know, and she's basically bewildered. Why would you be asking if there's a victim? Well, because if there's not a victim, then you have me in here attempting to enforce an agreement. What agreement is it you presume that I'm under that you can enforce? Right?
the question she's asking, not the weight of the question she's asking. And it's so great because I bet you the DA and again the judge are sitting there like, oh, this is killing us. But if for those of you who know, you know the weight of the question she's asking.
Is there a victim in the matter that we're here for today?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe that there's even a victim, but you believe, okay.
She's not an attorney. She's not a paralegal.
Okay, and
But I don't disagree.
Hell no, the judge don't disagree. And let me tell you why. Because a paralegal or a lawyer would know better than to not ask these questions on the record. They are being asked, and she is proposing questions that are bringing real problems to the table. And they are nervous. They don't know how to respond. We need floods and floods of this kind of litigation from litigants that are pro se or sui juris. This is how you need to be questioning everything.
And notice, and I can't emphasize this enough and point this out enough, is that she's asking questions. She is not making statements. And this is actually, if you've been in debates, you know this is how you debate, is you ask question, because when you make a statement, you bear the burden of proof. When you ask questions, you place the burden of proof on the person that you're asking. So now they have to respond with a statement, or they can respond with a question. But generally, you're putting the burden of proof on it, and that's what she has done the entire time. So that's how you do it.
actually, what is the city of Keene?
And then boom, she hits him with a dynamite question, the kill shot. And let me tell you why, because they know that the city of Keene or wherever is just a municipality, which is a quasi corporation. Now they're getting into for-profit problems.
Yep.
Person and officer that she has the capacity to answer.
So all of these municipalities, they're municipal corporations, they're for-profit corporations. They all have Dun and Bradstreet numbers. I actually have the Dun and Bradstreet. I'll show you guys after this of the state of Michigan, of Oakland County, of the District Judges Association, or one of the Judges Association, but they're all private for-profit corporations with their own D&B numbers, which is like a credit score for corporations, right? And it even shows that the state of Michigan generates a profit every year of $55 billion. So it's a profitable business, right? But we're all supposed to be in debt. We're all supposed to be bankrupt, right? We're supposed to be indigent. We're supposed to be borrowing money, appropriating money every year just to continue funding from the central banks. But it's a for-profit $55 billion a year business. The hell out of here. You know what I mean? So it's a big game of fleece the cattle, fleece the taxpayer. But this is how you get back at them. So watch.
I agree with the objection. That objection is sustained.
And do you have any evidence besides your claim that the meter was actually expired today? Well, that's not an evidence. She's just claiming it again.
Answering your question. Anything she answers is technically evidence.
Did you hear my question? Because my question was, do you have any evidence besides your claim?
So this woman who's being paid to be there, she's being paid to be there by the court, and the court just said anything she says is evidence, and they're paying her to be. That's insane. And this woman did a great job.
That the meter was actually expired.
Other evidence? I don't understand.
Was there a picture? Did you take a picture of the meter blinking, or are you just claiming that it was blinking?
I claim that it's blinking.
But do you have any evidence other than that?
No.
Okay, no. Okay. Do you have any evidence that I was operating the car?
Doesn't matter who's operating the car. I got evidence the car was parked there. I don't understand what you're asking.
Do you have any evidence that I was operating the car?
No.
No. Do you work for a corporation?
I work for the city of Keene.
Move on, please. The objection.
All right, so if you notice right there, the camera feed stops. So if this was filmed by the court, they cut a part of it out because she objected and wanted to say that was part of a municipality, which is a corporation. She's nailing it. And the fact that part was cut out of this video shows you everything, that they don't want you to see that kind of information.
He's right. Yeah.
Okay, is the city of Keene a corporation?
I don't believe so.
All right, I move to strike her testimony because she's incompetent to testify, because she doesn't even know that.
Overruled. You've asked her question. She can't answer. That's not necessarily uncommon.
She's
So that's overruled. Please
incompetent.
continue.
Does the corporation you work for, which is the city of Keene, own the parking space in question?
Hold on. She had an absolutely excellent objection, right? She moved to have her removed because she's incompetent. She doesn't know anything. She can't answer anything. And the judge just says overruled and continue. And so this is what I tell people all the time. These Nisi Prius courts, these little administrative, they're banks pretending to be courts, essentially generating their own commercial paper, creating debts, and then having commercial paper generated so that they can trade it. That's what they do, and they do whatever they want. They're not actually, there's no law taking place here. The Constitution does not matter here. So what she's doing is excellent, because she is, and what I teach everybody all the time, she's challenging the very jurisdiction that this is taking place in. She's like, so I'm not going to argue with you about what you're trying to charge me with, or what you're trying to do. Do you even have the ability to say I'm obligated to perform in this way? And that's period. That's it. Because without that, they can't enforce their own private law against you without your consent. That's stupid. The only way they can do that is by taking a superior interest in you or your property. So
I believe they do.
Well, how did they come to own it?
I have no idea.
I've reviewed your motion. I'm not sure I understand how the question is relevant even to your motion.
Okay. So it is your opinion that the corporation that you ticketed is within the state of New Hampshire, yes or no?
Your Honor, objection. She can't give an opinion on a legal matter.
He didn't pass.
She's trying to get them out of the United States jurisdictions within the state of New Hampshire. They can't say they're within the state of New Hampshire because everything has to be legally present in the United States. It has to be legally taking place in the United States, not within any one of the states. It's very important. If you look at the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code, the definition of resident says that anyone who resides in this state and establishes that he or she is legally present in the United States. That's what makes you a resident. So everything has to be technically taking place in the United States. That's why she keeps going back to this. Is this in New Hampshire? Is the corporation that ticketed, is it located in New Hampshire? So how is it trying to enforce United States jurisdiction, right? No, I think MC Nemesis on. We tried you having you up the other night, and you said some pretty vulgar stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and leave you backstage. But all right.
Or how can he give any opinions on
The
me?
objection sustained.
I don't even know how he can be my prosecutor or be up here. All right, I'm done asking questions for her, and I'd like to call the state as a witness. I mean, the city of Keene as a witness.
This isn't your time to come read.
Okay, well, I'll do that when I can.
So they keep claiming that the city of Keene's the one bringing the action. So she keeps calling the city of Keene as a witness. That's actually pretty clever. That's pretty good. And they're like, well, you can't. This is not the time to call witnesses. Okay.
I rest my question. And it seems to me, can I answer? I can't answer that ever.
Man, this has got to be my favorite video of all time. She did such a great job. This one should be the poster child for what to do in court, and I'll let the rest of it play out, but great work.
She really did.
The problem I have is this. The testimony that I heard was that the vehicle was registered to a church. And there was nothing to indicate that Ms. Freeman was operating the vehicle correctly. And the evidence was also that when she came in to test the vehicle, it wasn't just her, it was her and Mr. Freeman that came in and tested the ticket. And while it may not make sense for someone who wasn't the person who parked the car to come in and contest the ticket, but I also don't have the ordinance here that tells me who the properly chargeable person would be for the parking. So I can't say that the state is not burdened in this case. So the motion to dismiss is granted.
Yeah, of course. He took a long way around to do what he knew he had to do anyway. So, but that was fantastic. That was an absolutely excellent example of how to deal with these administrative courts, these banks pretending to be courts, just like that. And you just challenge their jurisdiction, you question. And when you can hear other people ask the questions, but unless you actually know and understand the law and the difference between law and equity, the difference between enforcing contracts and enforcing the law, which those are the only two things that are really happening, or a trust arrangement, which is generally part of a contract. All the questions she asked, so who's the victim? City of Keene. The city of Keene's non-responsive. City of Keene's not living. Can't be a victim, right? I call the city of Keene to testify. Okay, it must testify against me then if it's going to cause me injury. That's the law, right? So what they're admitting is without a victim and without an injury that they're trying to enforce a contract, right? And these contracts are usually made through presumption, right? Because you don't know to rebut them. And she's not making the statements and saying, I'm not this, I'm not that. She's getting them to make her case for her by asking them specific questions. And it was brilliantly done. So I'm going to show you guys this real quick, and then I'm going to let Val ask me some questions. But this I wanted to show you. It's the DNB thing. So this is, I know it's tough to see, but this is the state of Michigan. Shows you doing business as the state of Michigan, right? Let's see here. Bring this up. It says it's the state of Michigan is located in Lansing, Michigan, United States, and is part of the executive, legislative, and other general government support industry. State of Michigan has 416 total employees across all of its locations and generates $54.68 billion in sales, USD. There are 1,901 companies in the state of Michigan, corporate families. So that shows you that there's really just one big corporation, right? Because even the corporate state of Michigan, not the original de jure Republic of Michigan, but the corporate state is really just an incorporated branch of the United States corporation. And then all of the companies, including the company you work for, is just another incorporated company, part of the massive Leviathan corporation, right? So key principle, Gretchen Whitmer, right? That's crazy. And then it shows you the contacts. Yeah. And then I've got the DMB numbers for these guys too. So, all right, Val, what are your questions? You there? All right, Val, you with us? You're muted if you're talking. So, I don't know if you're talking. All right.
Hey, what's up?
Okay. All right. What are your questions?
The question number one is this. I wrote them down, by the way. So driving without license plate. Sorry, I just had some kratom in my mouth, so I cannot speak. So driving without license plate. Right now, I impounded my car, right, for the pre-crime, which is, of course, we know it's DUI, it's a pre-crime.
Right.
And
It is technically. Yeah.
one of their conditions of whatever the satanic conditions was 10 days impounding. Basically, it's in my garage, but I had to give them my license plate and registration. So my question, number one is this: if I were, for example, to drive my car without any license plate, just drive, and they stop me, what happens? You dig me, right? I don't have to explain anymore.
No, I get what you're saying.
Gotcha.
So do you, okay, so what they're going to try to say is that it's the law that you're supposed to register your car, right? That it's law. It's actually code because it's the regulation of property. They presume you to have a driver's license and be under contract. They presume you to be a U.S. citizen and not a Floridian, right? They presume you to basically be a foreign indentured infant trustee who is sojourning in Florida for the purpose of engaging in commercial enterprise on behalf of your native, District of Columbia, United States corporation. That's the presumption. All right. But so they're going to tell you that it's law, but it's code. And what you tell them is that you're one of the people of the state of Florida, right? And that what the officer is attempting to do is cause you financial injury for not conveying the right of your property to be used as collateral for the public debt of a foreign corporation, because that's what's actually happening. So here's what I tell people when it comes to driving without a plate. There is no silver bullet. I don't bullshit people, right? And anybody who tells you there is a silver bullet is bullshitting you, I promise. But the better you know the law, the easier it is for you to enforce your rights. And what I mean is, so the whole purpose of the officer is to create an attachment to your account, to your trust. And so he needs an account number. So the license plate is attached to your driver's license number, which is attached to your social security number. Right? Your driver's license number is attached to your social security number. So he needs either your driver's license or he needs your license plate. He needs an account number to create an attachment. And what do I mean by attachment? I mean to create a debt, to create a charge so that they can generate a security, a debt security, which is what our currency is. Like the Federal Reserve notes are debt security. So that's why they want to generate securities, because that's currency. When they can create their own commercial paper, they're acting as a bank. And that's essentially what they're doing. Well, they hire it out, but they create the debt through the attachment. So they need the account number. So hold on, I'll finish this once I invite Speakeasy up. Let's see. How you doing, Speakeasy?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, not bad, man. One moment before I address any question you might have, let me finish explaining this to her real quick. All right. So the position you're putting the officer in, when you don't have a plate, which is when you know what you're doing and you have a right to travel packet with all the cases and you've claimed your estate like we teach in the Jurist Society, and you have a copy of that with you of your claim, which is also a performance contract and all of that stuff, and you can express yourself intelligently because you know what you're talking about. You explain that to them, say, you're supposed to have a license plate. Well, I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Very sorry. But what if I'm on this probation, like you said?
You can't do anything on probation. I've told you that. You have to, anybody
Yeah,
who's on
so
parole
that-
probation, you have to get off that contract. That contract will supersede anything else.
So that means if I'm traveling without a license plate while on probation, I'm fucked, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what if I'm,
Yes.
how do they discover it? Like if I'm not on probation and I'm traveling without license plate, they will discover it how?
Exactly what I'm getting to. So it's the whole point in general. So it's when you can express yourself intelligently, you say, I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen, right? I'm not subject to the trust indenture or the public debt. I'm what they call a non-taxpayer, as Long v. Rasmussen, 1922, right? You tell them that I'm under no obligation to convey the right of my property to the state to be used as collateral for the public debt, because of what I showed you guys right here. This is very important. What I showed you with, oops, damn thing.
Yeah, but did you just? I just want to clarify something quick. Did you say that I'm a non-taxpayer?
Yeah. Yep. So,
But
right.
that gets people like you, you get arrested for not paying taxes.
Well, see, you can not. I mean, so it's all depends on whether or not it depends on your standing. That's the point of what I'm trying to explain. So before we get off into that, this right here, the money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar because it's backed by the credit of the nation. It represents a mortgage on all the homes and all the other property of all the people in the nation. So what that actually is an admission to settling your estate. They mortgaged your estate, which essentially means they mortgaged your right to own property to secure the public debt. So Federal Reserve notes are contracts signed by two parties, the Secretary of the Treasury, right, and the Treasurer, right? And so it's a contract, and that contract security is your sweat equity, your labor, and whatever property you acquire. So all your major property is attached to your social security number, because part of the law of mortgage is that the lender gets beneficial use of the property while the loan's outstanding. So when we do let's see if I can pull this up, I'll show you. So when you do this, mortgage legal definition, so it shows you right here, it says that the lender was entitled not only to the payments of interest on the debt, but also to the rents and profits of the real estate. This meant that as far as the borrower was concerned, the real estate was of no value, that is, dead, until the debt was paid in full, meaning you're a usufruct. You don't actually own any of your property. You only have the right to use it. You're a trustee of your own estate. And so as a 14th Amendment, they can only do this to 14th Amendment citizens, because only 14th Amendment citizens are subject to Congress. All right. And Congress is the one who mortgaged what was under their jurisdictional authority, which are 14th Amendment infant citizens. So that's the purpose for saying that you're not a 14th Amendment citizen, that you're a non-taxpayer, because the 14th Amendment citizen is who is subject to the revenue codes. And this is actually in a court case. It's Long v. Rasmussen. Long v. Rasmussen says this, specifically says that right here. So we go down to, let's see here. Congress has no power to grant, or has no power, grant, has not assumed to grant authority to the defendant collector to distrain property of one person to make the taxes of another, which is what's happening to 14th Amendment citizens. But there's more specifically, it says, all right, right here, the revenue laws are a code or system. Here, let me zoom this in for you guys. The revenue laws, which the motor vehicle code is a revenue code. The revenue laws are a code or system and regulation of tax assessment and collection. They relate to taxpayers and not to non-taxpayers, meaning they relate to United States citizens, not to state citizens, right? This is their lawyery way of trying not to overtly state the obvious, but and when you see the rest of this, the way it's described, it could be nothing else. It says the latter are without their scope. No procedure is prescribed for non-taxpayers, and no attempt is made to annul any of their rights and remedies in the due course of law. With them, Congress does not assume to deal, and they are neither of the subject nor of the object of revenue laws, because Congress has no jurisdictional authority within the states, right, except over federal personnel or United States citizens, because a Social Security number is also it's a deferred retirement benefit, right? So it technically makes you federal personnel. And it's also the account, the trust that all of your property is linked to, so they can generate revenue from it while the loan's outstanding, is part of the law of mortgages, right? So this is why they need the account number. When you don't give them an account number and you can explain what I just explained intelligently to an officer, even though he's not going to understand it, you put him in a specific precarious situation. And that situation is now he can either do violence against you and actually commit a crime against you when you have committed no crime and broke no law, because remember, crime requires victims. Otherwise, it's the enforcement of a contract or agreement. And so you've committed no crime. Now he can either commit violence against you and steal your property, or he can just decide not to fuck with it. And that's why I say there's no silver bullet, but that's how you assert your right to travel. That's exactly how. And especially once you've made your claim on the record, you really are not a United States citizen. You've expatriated. Because we have McDonald v. State, right? Just for people who don't. Well, first, you've got Black's Law Dictionary, which shows you that the 14th Amendment it became part of the Organic Law July 28th, 1868, and it's important, entitles it to special mention. It creates, or at least recognizes for the first time, a citizenship of the United States as distinct from that of the states, right? You have McDonald v. State, which I don't know if I have pulled up.
Wait, the United States is the states.
No, it's not.
What do you mean?
The United States is a foreign corporation. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. It's a federal corporation. It is not. So you have the geographical designation of the continental United States, as in the collection of states that are in a confederation with one another and known as the Union.
Do you understand the difference between a corporation and a country, right?
Of course I do. Do you?
Yeah, right. So like one of the main differences would be like the purpose of them.
The state is your country. The United States is a corporation made up of the representatives of the several countries in a union.
So what's the purpose of the United States then?
You want me to show you just so you can? So this is.
Well,
McDonald.
no, I'm just
Watch.
trying to ask you what do you think the purpose of the United States is then?
The United States was the first trial run at a United Nations or a League of Nations. And it was also the first
country, right?
It is a nation. So the countries are the states. The United States. The countries are the states. Each state is its own nation. It's its own.
Each state is its own country?
It's its own, yeah. It's its own. Are you serious?
You're not being real right now, right? Are you trolling?
You don't know this? Okay, check this out.
Dude, you're just saying like you don't know this and stuff, but
check this out.
Again, like the main difference here, right? Like if the United States.
All right, so I'm gonna mute you because you won't shut up. And so this right here, it says that although he was not.
So you just want to talk at people and mute them?
Well, I'm trying to show you this is a court case that shows you that the United States, you can be a citizen of the state and not a citizen of the United States. The United States is a federal corporation. The United States is, this is UCC 9, okay? Look at, all right. Let's see, J, it's H, subsection H, H. Location of the United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. What? Oh, shit. Well, look at this. This is the boundary stones bordering in the District of Columbia because it's its own sovereign nation state. It does business as the United States. That's what the District of Columbia does business as. And when you look right here on this side of the boundary stone, it says jurisdiction of the United States. And that's when you're heading into DC. When you're heading
just to be clear, you think you can be a citizen of a state but not the United States?
Not only do I think that,
is that what you're saying right now?
It's upheld by Supreme Court. This is a Supreme Court case. It says right here, it's McDonald v. State. It says the evidence of bushing on his voir dire.
Where'd you get this off of? What is the site you're on here?
This one specifically is courtlistener.com, but you can go on Case Mine. You can go on the Harvard Law.
What was the date of that court case?
Okay, so this is Indiana Supreme Court. It's 90 Indiana 320, right? Docket number 11,190. The judge was Hammond, and this was in 1883.
Yeah.
May 15th.
So in 1883, this court case, you think this is it still holds up today? Is what you're trying to say?
Of course it does.
So explain to me how it works. So like, because you're saying this, right? And you're saying you can just claim these things. How can you claim this? Like, so you're just saying if you claim to be a citizen of the state, you don't need any paperwork. There's no process to this. Nothing.
Dude, there was no such thing as a United States, like a federal citizen. There was no such thing as that until
I asked a specific question, though.
And I'm answering your specific question.
No.
I would add to that, it's like, do I need to file the papers of house? Like I'm a house of
okay.
blah, blah.
Okay. So
how do you become a citizen of a state?
You are. If you were born in the state, then you're a citizen
what
of
if I'm
the state.
not born in the state?
I know you weren't. I know you weren't valid.
Is that the only way?
Well, you can. So prior to this takeover by the foreign corporation known as that calls itself the United States, the states used to naturalize, right? So you could move this person. So this court case right here was a guy got convicted. And one of the jurors had moved from Germany to Indiana and naturalized in Indiana, but did not naturalize with the federal corporation. And so the guy tried to have it overturned by appealing it. This is the appeal. And he said the guy was an alien. One of the jurors was an alien. And this is what they said. They said, no, the evidence of bushing right here on his voir dire, which is where they examine someone to see if they're competent to be a juror, showed that although he was a citizen of he was not a citizen of the United States. Although he was not a citizen of the United States, he was a citizen and voter of the state. Under Section 2 of Article 2 of our state constitution, one may be a citizen of a state and yet not a citizen of the United States. And that's also upheld in Thomason v. State, Corey v. Carter, and McCarthy v. Frolke, and in the matter of whites. So this is a well-established, because there was no such thing as a United States citizen until the 14th Amendment. And the reason that they created the 14th Amendment was because the federal corporation wanted to create a private central, or wanted to give the power to create currency to a private central bank and then use the citizenry as collateral to take out loans, which is exactly what they did right here, as I showed before. Boom, they used that citizenry that they created, the federal citizen. That's why they created, so they could have collateral. And they then use that collateral by mortgaging the estates of their citizen to back the loan. Well, the mortgage of an estate creates a perpetual indenture where everything that you own has a lien on it, essentially. Yeah, because you can't
Yeah.
actually buy anything. You don't have money.
Yeah, so so what I'm understanding is you're saying because of how things were before the amendments, because like I don't know if you know this, but like amendment means like of course that it can be changed, right?
Well, but still, even after the amendment, you still had to voluntarily naturalize with the federal corporation. You don't have to be a federal citizen.
Well, but you do, right? That
No, you don't. But you don't.
if the
Yeah,
country had,
but you
this
don't.
is the thing, like how can you be a part of society and not abide by the laws of said society? Can you explain
Those
that
aren't,
one to me?
first of all, those aren't law. What are the laws you're talking about?
Well, you can't become a citizen of a U.S. state without also being a citizen of the United States because of the 14th Amendment, like you just mentioned,
Well,
right?
no, that's not true at all.
Yeah, it
Because
is. It is true.
the court case I just read was after the 14th Amendment, and that individual was a citizen of the state and not a citizen of the United States. You don't know what the hell you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but that person was born before the 14th Amendment was put in place, right?
No, because that's what they're saying is that he's a state citizen. He didn't want to be a federal citizen, and he doesn't have to be. But there was a federal citizenship at that point in time because that was after the 14th Amendment. That court case I just showed you absolutely was after the 14th Amendment. You do not have to be a state citizen. This 1922 case, the Long v. Rasmussen, that's way after the 14th Amendment. And Edna Long was not.
So explain to us, why can't you answer the simple question? How do you become a state citizen without being a U.S. citizen?
You just revoke, expatriate, revoke the 14th Amendment citizenship on the
And
county
they'll
record.
laugh at you and put you in jail.
I've done it already.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
This is an anecdote, what you're saying, and I don't actually believe that you just walk around.
How long have you been watching this channel? How long have you been watching my channel, man?
Not too long.
Yeah, because you have no idea.
What does that mean? Like, what does that have to do with what I'm saying?
Because you are saying that I'm not. So what are you saying? That I didn't file my paperwork on the record? I absolutely have my paperwork on the record. I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen, period.
You're not a 14th Amendment citizen.
No, I am not.
So just to be clear, you're not a citizen of the United States, but you live in the United States as a citizen of a state.
I do not live in the United States. I live in Michigan.
Do you realize that Michigan is in the United States?
It is not. So there is a jurisdictional overlay, a federal territorial jurisdictional overlay that you can contract into, but
that's how countries work.
This
right?
is
The
not
guy with the biggest stick makes the rules. You don't get to make the rules how you feel.
This is not physically the United States. Well, you have to be able to lawfully enforce what you're trying to enforce, and you have to have contract and agreement to force anything outside of law.
What do you mean? So, like, for instance, you were talking about earlier about driving without like a license plate.
Right.
Like, do you think you'll get away with that?
I have gotten away with it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
I actually have.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
I don't really care. You don't have to believe it.
Okay. Well, I know I don't have to believe it.
Right. That's fine. I don't give a shit, but I have and I do. So what are you talking about?
So you think it's good advice to tell people to drive without, so just to be clear, you drive around without a license plate, without a license, without insurance?
Yeah.
All of that?
Absolutely. Well,
so you're
here's
just
the thing.
Driving around as a liability to everybody. What happens when like, say, like you smoke some family and kill all the kids and the wife in the car and leave a man stranded by himself without his family because you murdered them? How do we hold you responsible if you don't have no tie?
Why would that happen, you jackass?
I don't know. It's an accident. That's how accidents happen. That's what insurance is for.
Okay,
what do you mean?
Fine.
How would that happen? Why am I a jackass for just making up a hypothetical? What the hell's wrong?
Let me ask you something though. But do you think it should? So, you think it's okay to force other people to purchase a private service? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that it makes sense.
Well, then you're a communist.
Well, can I answer you?
But you're a
Yeah,
communist.
well, no,
Go
it's
ahead.
not that I'm a communist. That doesn't
You
even
are,
make
though. Yes,
no,
you
it's
are.
not.
How many are
Communist,
you?
if I was a communist, I'd want us to share everything. That's not what I'm saying.
But
Right?
you're telling, so what you're
No,
telling
I'm
me is
saying that I want people to be able to be held accountable for the things they do. Right?
well,
One of the
that's
things they
law.
do
You have
is drive
accountability.
on the streets that the taxes pay for. Okay, my taxes pay for you to drive around on those streets. Okay,
Okay.
so if you're going to drive around on those streets, I want you to be able to be held accountable for the
How does
mistakes you may make
listen,
on
hold
those
on. How
streets.
does
Just like
insurance,
me,
hold
just
on.
like
How
Lara
the
here,
fuck,
just like Joe Blow down the street, we should all be held accountable.
how does insurance, you fucking loudmouth, how does insurance stop or change any of that, you fucking retard? You want me to
Because
give
you wouldn't be able to afford,
you want me to give my money to the banks to
because
make
you wouldn't be able to afford to pay my car.
you feel better and more secure. So
No, that's not what the point of insurance.
you are one of those people who prefer safety over freedom. Those who sacrifice their liberty for security deserve neither and will lose both. You and I philosophically and ideologically disagree. Okay. If you want to carry insurance, absolutely carry insurance. Is it prudent to carry insurance? For sure. It's prudent to carry insurance. However, you should not be forced to carry insurance. That is not law. You cannot force somebody to purchase something from a private corporation, to purchase a service from a private corporation. You do not have the authority. What gives you the fucking authority to force me to buy anything from anyone, you piece of shit? There. Now you may speak.
Okay, well, now that you're done spurging out there, I don't want to force you to buy anything. I just want to force you off of the streets that I pay for. So this is what I'm saying. Insurance ensures that if you just smoke my car, say, and there's no killing involved, but the car is completely wrecked, I want your insurance company to be able to pay for it because you're broke.
How do you know that I can't pay for it, asshole?
Because you're probably a bum, dude. What do you mean?
See, now you're making all sorts of assumptions,
You
aren't
just
you?
called me all these types of names, and
You're making
you're just gonna keep muting, bro.
Yes, I am. It's my show.
Mute your
Whose show is this, bro? Whose show is this? Is this your show or my show?
I don't care whose show it is. It's
You
about
come on
respect.
here, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about at all. Okay? And you come up, you accuse me of being a liar, which is just unfucking believable. But fine, you don't know me. You don't have to believe me. But I'm showing and proving to you things and trying to explain it to him because you are too stupid to understand what I am saying. You say it's not true. That's not my problem.
Okay, well, listen, the average person, even if you are super rich, buddy, okay, the average person can't afford to fix my car, buddy. Okay? The average person.
I do not care to make you feel safe. You can't force me to purchase something to make you feel safe, buddy. And you have no authority to do that.
People,
You see
bro.
how
Yeah,
much
all you do is kick people when you don't want to fucking hear what they're
why
saying,
you
right?
do this section?
That's
Because
it.
you are allowed to talk. Because we can make you talk here. Huh? Why don't you enjoy this shit? So shut the fuck up. Sorry, Ryan.
No, you're good, dude.
Oh, shut up.
Hey, look, like William McLean says, if you want to feel safe, buy yourself some insurance, bud. It's that simple. Buy yourself some insurance. Okay? It's that simple. But listen, so you're saying that you approve of, okay, let me get this out because you don't
I'll
fucking
still get you, Ryan, by the way, but I'll shut up now. I'll still get you. I'm shut up now.
So you want me to convey the superior controlling interest of my property to the state so they can gift it back to me in a usufructory situation, which you're probably too stupid to even know what fucking usufruct means. You want to give it back to me in a usufructory situation. Okay, and then tell me how to use it and fine and fee me for the use of it and fine and fee me for the misuse of it. And then tell me to purchase a service from a private corporation to make other people feel safe. And you support that system. You support
Dude,
this.
you're just gonna keep putting me in the back every time I talk, or?
When I have a question to ask, because you don't let anybody get a word in edgewise. So yeah, I will. Yeah.
Well, that's not true. You've interrupted me every time I spoke. But let me try this again, okay? Let me try one more time.
Sure.
First off, if you don't want to purchase insurance, don't drive on the roads. It's that simple, right?
Who are
Like
you?
you thinking, see, look, you can't wait more than 30 seconds, can you?
But I'm trying to get you to understand what gives you.
You're trying to get me to understand while I'm answering. That's great.
What gives you the
Who
authority?
the fuck asked your opinions? Come back. Who the
Yeah.
fuck asked your opinions?
Listen, Lara. After what you wrote in the back chat there, I don't think you could call
Listen.
anybody a scumbag.
Nothing.
Talking about N-word here,
Nobody
N-word
cares
there
about
in the
your
back
opinion.
chat. Don't think you can
Nobody
hide it in the back chat, but everyone in
What
my
you
chat
do is
sees it.
this,
All right.
chat.
So you're
That's
a
what
piece
you
of
do.
shit,
Dabba
Lara.
dabba
All
do.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. Go tie
oh,
your dick to a tree and jump out, bitch. Shut up.
oh my gosh. That's wonderful.
All right,
Thank
this
you.
guy is you're just not even conducive to a good show, man. So I don't understand. I'm gonna give you one more chance to explain. And first, I want you to consider what gives you the authority to tell somebody whether or not they can drive on the road that we all pay for. We all pay for. Well, actually, the central bank lends money to the government against your sweat equity, which they turn around and extort you for. But however you want to look at it, if you think you voluntarily pay for it, sure. But we all pay for it. What makes you think that you have a superior right or interest to tell me whether or not I can travel on it? Right? And what conditions I am to, and under what circumstances I'm allowed to travel on it? Who the fuck are you?
Okay, so let me ask you something then. Would you think it's better in a society where instead of having insurance, right, I just take my revenge any way I see fit after you hit my car? Would that make more sense in your head?
Well,
How can you
actually,
live in a civilized society without having these things in
there's law
place?
to redress. There's law to redress injury. Okay, so what you do is you sue somebody, right?
Oh,
And
you're going to sue them?
yes, that's what law is for.
And then not get nothing? You can't get a blood from a rock, dude. How do you expect to sue people with no money? How do you expect to sue people with no money? Lara, learn to speak English before you enter this conversation.
Yes? Why don't you
Relax
speak
all that.
languages? Can you
If
speak
this
more
Relax
breaks,
all that shit.
How many languages can you speak? Come back.
if this
Okay.
breaks down, into a non, coherent sort of conversation, then we're gonna have to stop that shit. But this
Well,
is,
I'm not the one doing that. Can you actually be fair about this? Because I'm not the one.
I am being fair.
resulting to
I'm
all
being
that,
fair. Let's just calm
right?
down. All right. So
Like my main point is the average person can't pay for my vehicle, and like
hold on.
taking them to
You
court
didn't
would
let me
cost me
finish
even
answering
more
my
money,
fucking-
right? Like
you didn't let
lawyers
me-
aren't cheap.
You
right?
didn't. You don't need a law. Learn the fucking law. This is the problem with the whole society. Just learn law.
It's still even if I don't use a lawyer, it still takes time. Time is money, my friend.
Okay, that's fine. But
Okay. So
here's
then
the-
why can't you just
because you
concede
can't
that it
make me
costs you
purchase-
more?
You can't make me purchase insurance, dude. You can't do that. You can't regulate the use of my property.
But like what you're doing is picking and choosing the laws you like, right? What
No,
you're saying is, I don't think it should be law that we have to drive with insurance.
I didn't get to finish my answer, so that's why I put you backstage. I'm not picking and choosing. There is law, and then there is everything. There is contract. Okay, law is whether or not you violate someone else's free will. Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution, okay, distinguishes law from equity. You want me to show you? I'm going to show you. Look, Article 3, and I'm going to explain the difference between the two for you. Okay. Article 3, Section 2, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity. What's the difference between law and equity? Before we can even proceed further, you have to answer this question for me.
Bro.
What is the difference between
It's
law
like,
and
this is lame, bro. You just putting me in the back to talk at me and then bringing me up every time. Like, this is lame.
Well, you didn't let me
understand
finish
that, right?
answering. You didn't let me finish answering the question. So I had
Oh, it's only okay when you interrupt. I got it.
Let me ask you a question, and then I'll let you answer before we can even continue discussing law, because I'm not going to waste any more breath. You tell me the difference between law and equity, And if you can answer this correctly, then I'll entertain whatever else you want.
Like, you mean within the legal system, right? Like, so like equity in the legal system would be like, it's like how they aim to provide like fair and just solutions.
Not even close. Not even close.
You didn't even let me finish talking, and you're saying it. Like, you see how stupid you fucking are, dude?
It's not even close. What is the
Like,
difference?
you sound like you fucking got a brick to your head just a few minutes ago. Shut up for 2 seconds, guy. Let people talk.
Okay, what is the difference between law and equity?
Holy fuck. This guy's actually sad.
What is the difference between law and equity?
Well, okay, law is based on established rules and statutes, right? And equity would be the focus of providing fair solutions with a legal remedy. What do you mean?
No, so you're absolutely wrong. Now, do you want to know?
So what is it?
Okay, so law is violating someone's free will. You have a victim, a crime. You either steal from someone or you injure.
Law is violating someone's free will. Is that what you just said?
100%. Yes.
Oh my God. Dude.
Equity is the enforcement. You want me to prove it to you? You want me to prove it to you?
Yeah, sure, buddy. Sure. Prove that to me.
Okay, here you go.
Go ahead.
This is called Blackstone's Commentaries. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to see your little PDFs. Why don't you just bring up Google and search it up?
This is Blackstone, William
Go
Blackstone.
search it up, dude.
This is.
Do you think you have the right to drive on roads or something?
Oh, all right, you're done, dude. You're an idiot. You're out of here. You're out of here, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're out of here, buddy. So, anyways, this is what I was trying to explain. Is equity is basically the enforcement of contracts, like trusts, for instance, can only be adjudicated in equity, because equity is not the enforcement of law. It's the enforcement of contracts or trust arrangements, which could be called private law, but it requires your consent to be under it. It could not actually generally be enforced by everyone as law. Okay. What can be enforced by everyone as law is crime, which requires a victim, which is the violation of someone's free will in some form or fashion. Okay. So equity, thus depending essentially upon particular circumstances of each individual case, there can be no established rules and fixed precepts in equity laid down without destroying its very essence and reducing it to a positive law. And on the other hand, the liberty of considering all cases in an equitable light must not be indulged too far, lest thereby we destroy all law and leave the decision of every question entirely in the breast of a judge. Okay, because equity supplies for the deficiencies in law, where law is just black and white, cut and dry. Was somebody's free will violated? Was there a crime committed? That's law. Equity can look at mitigating circumstances, right? Equity can enforce contracts. Well, hey, he signed an agreement with me not to drive my car after 6, and he drove it after 6. And the penalty in our contract says that he pays a $25 fine when he drives it after 6. Well, that's not law. So you can't take that to a court of law, but you can take and enforce your equitable right to that relief in the contract in a court of equity. And the judge will decide, well, you did agree to this, so you do owe him $25. And the judge can order that man to pay you. Law couldn't do that, right? So that's what equity is all about. That's what equity is. And that's why they make a distinction between law and equity. Now, the only way they can force you to carry insurance, and the only way they can force you to have a driver's license and put a license plate on your car, is by contract and trust arrangement. And they have you under so many layers of it. The very first one is the 14th Amendment, where all of your property has been mortgaged to secure the public debt. Okay, money will be worth 100 cents on the dollar because it's backed by the credit of the nation, represents a mortgage on all the homes and other property of all the people in the nation. They mortgaged your estate. Okay, so because of the law of mortgages, as I was showing you guys earlier, they have the right to the beneficial interest, right? So it shows you right here, the lender was entitled not only to payments of interest on the debt, but also the rents and profits of the real estate. So that's what the revenue codes are. And so while the property is held in trust as collateral, everything attached to your social security number. They create codes to generate revenue from the use of the property while the loan is outstanding. The loan will always be outstanding as long as we use Federal Reserve notes as currency. All right, what do we got here? I'm ready to kick you quick if you're on some bullshit. So, how's it going?
Doing great. I just had a few questions in regards to the U.S. not being a country, but a corporation.
Okay, shoot.
Then how do we have a Declaration of Independence, and how do we have a constitution if we're not an actual country?
Okay, so with the Declaration of, you had the colonies originally, okay, and the colonies were each independent of one another. And they decided to come together in a loose association. They did this through the Articles of Association. The Declaration of Independence was a common law action, okay, and they were declaring their independence from the king. Once they declared their independence, they organized the individual nations under the Articles of Confederation. Okay, they created, each of them became a state, their own nation. That's why, what does the Department of State deal with? The Department of State deals with foreign nations. Okay, that's why we call them states, is what it is. So they each became their own independent nation, and then through the Articles of Confederation, they came together in a confederation. A confederation is not racist. A confederation is not Southern. Confederation is a type of union wherein the sovereignty resides within each of the member states of that union. Okay. So that's what we originally were. The Constitution replaced the Articles of, built on the Articles of Confederation to create a stronger, centralized company that's made up of the representative of the several states. Okay. So the United States is and always has been a company, absolutely, and it's like a public face internationally to do business with the rest of the world under one united front. And so they created, basically, it's a trust, it's a company made by the states to represent them internationally, collectively. But each of the states themselves are independent and sovereign.
They're not independent, sovereign. They all have to follow the federal law. That's why you have federal, state, and local law enforcement.
Now they do, because of after the Civil War, and especially after the bankruptcy, the federal territorial occupation of the states, and then also the fact that the federal government became the welfare daddy of the states. See, when the states stopped receiving their funding through the proper tax system from the people as the creditors and started getting their funding from a private central banking system, right? It allowed the federal government to become the welfare daddy to the states and bring them to heel. So
here's where you're missing the factor. We have always had federal law since the inception of the United States of America.
Yeah, but federal law only applied in federal jurisdictions, such as federal territories, military installations in the District of Columbia. That's a fact.
They would be anywhere of the United States of America.
No, they could not. They had no jurisdictional authority within the states. They still do not.
How do they have no jurisdiction? Explain that to me, because there's no way in hell that you can convince me that the federal government does not have control over every state within the union.
You see this? Do you see this right here? This is gov.uk.
That's United. I'm not worried about. Wait, how are you going to provide me a link from gov.uk on something that's America?
Because it's an English company. The United States of America. Okay? Right?
You're showing me a link from the United Kingdom. That has nothing to do with the U.S., my guy.
Holy shit, this is where it was registered. Yes, it was. Yes, absolutely.
No, not even close. The United States is its own entity. It's not part of the United Kingdom.
Dude, what am I showing you right now?
The United Kingdom's website? Website from the U.S.
All right.
What you're showing.
Watch out. You're going backstage for a minute. This was, let's see, overseas registered January 19th. Used to be this showed filing history, people, beneficial owners, There we go. Notified on July 3rd, 1776. My guy, you piece of shit. Look.
Yes, notified on 1776 when we declared our independence from the kingdom. We then separated ourselves from the United States.
How many beneficial owners of the company called the United States of America? How many are there? One, motherfucker.
There's no owner of the country. We have a ruler, which is the president. We don't have owners.
You are a jackass, dude. Look, this is a government services. It's a government department, right? It's a government services corporation.
I can't see anything on your screen, bro. It is so fucking foggy and cloudy.
All right, how about this? Definition.
Let's pull up something from the Federalist Papers from 1776, and you explain to me how we're not a country and we are.
What is United? Can you read this from the United States Code? What does the United States mean? What's that say? You dumbass. What's that say?
I can't read it, man. Your screen's blurry as fuck.
Well, here, hold on. Let's see if I can help you out.
Are you pulling that from, like, which dictionary are you pulling that from, bud?
28 United States Code, section 3002, subsection 15.
Federal corporation, be an agency. Yeah. That looks like a fucking test question, guy.
Dude,
that doesn't look like the actual article.
United States means a federal corporation.
Can you do me a favor, since you have Google up? Can you do me an actual favor, just so I can either A, prove myself wrong, or B, I prove you right? Go up to the Federalist government. Go to the actual USA.gov and type in, or actually here, even better yet, type in what is.
Hold on. You want me to just Google and expect Google to tell you the truth? Is this what I'm getting from you?
No, I'd like an actual definition, or pull up that actual source quote.
Eddie, thanks for the super chat, man. Yeah, public education at work. Some people you just can't reach, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eddie, some people you just can't reach.
Public education at work would tell me that I know more about my history than most people do. So yeah, go ahead. Public education whenever I'm not even.
You didn't know that the United States is foreign to the several states. You didn't know that the United States is foreign to the several states.
Okay, here's a question for you then. If I commit a federal offense and also a state offense, do I get a federal prison or do I get a state prison?
It depends on which crimes more serious.
You get a federal because the federal outweighs the state.
No, you did. That's not true at all. First of all, it depends on the crime. It depends on whether or not it's ran consecutive or concurrent. It depends on which crime's more serious. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
If you commit a federal felony, you go to federal prison first because the federal crime outweighs the state crime.
Again, it depends on what the crimes are.
Bro, okay. Either way. So explain to me one thing, and I'll even bow out gracefully. You explain to me how I live in Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, but I have to abide by the federal laws as well.
Okay.
Because Pennsylvania is one of the original 13 founding colonies.
Okay, I'll explain to you. Okay, so in the Civil War, that corporation declared war on the several states. Okay, and the northern states joined that corporation, became a corporate union, and the southern states fought for the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation and the state sovereignty. And the northern states won. The northern states.
I'm not some little ass.
So you don't want the answer. You don't want the answer then.
But I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But
you don't want the answer.
I want an honest answer here.
I am giving you the honest answer. You're not listening to me.
How can you tell me that history is wrong when we have history of the
winners of wars write history, and right now you're controlled by a foreign central banking cartel, a foreign corporation, and international oligarchs that are trying to enslave you. In case you didn't notice,
I'm not enslaved. I'm a free will person. I can do it.
What do you own?
Well, I own the home that I live in, the car that I drive, and
you own the home you live in? You own the home you live in? So you don't pay anybody to live in your home. You just own it. You don't pay anybody. You don't pay?
I pay electrical bills. and
Do you
gas
pay
bills.
property taxes? Do you pay property taxes?
I do. I do pay property
Well,
taxes.
that's called a feudal tenure. So what happens
No,
if you don't
it's
pay
called
your property?
tax.
What
So
happens if you don't pay your property taxes? What happens?
what happens if I don't pay property taxes?
Yeah, because if
Then
you own it, you shouldn't pay anybody. You own it. That's what ownership is.
government has the taxes there, so it helps benefit the people within my
No,
community,
that's
such
called
as
feudal.
the
That's
school
called
district.
feudalism. That's called feudalism.
It's not. How is that feudalism?
Because if you pay somebody to use your land, that is called usufruct, right? That's called being a usufruct. That's called feudalism. That's you hold the land in some form of fee in a feudal system. If you pay someone else to continue to live on it after you own it, that means
So
you
then
have
I have to follow up with your property tax question. Then if I don't pay any form of taxes at all, then how does
that
this
is.
society work in whole?
What do you mean? You don't have to pay. So originally, all lands in this country are allodial and feudal tenures are prohibited. Allodial means you have absolute ownership of the land. Nobody has a superior interest in the land. That's what allodial is. I can prove it to you again if you would like.
That wasn't my question. If nobody pays taxes, then how does the society benefit from the government?
What are you talking about? Sales tax, import and export tax, and certain excise taxes are the proper tax system, and it supplies more than enough money for the government.
But if I'm not paying property taxes within my state and local government, that doesn't provide the taxes to the school districts within my government.
Well, the government shouldn't control schools in the first place. That's why you, for instance, are so fucking stupid. Is school public school?
I have a college education and masters, but I'm stupid.
Oh, that's absolutely why. Yes, 100%.
Okay, because I have a mechanical engineering degree with a minor in green energy, such as
You are
geothermal and
thoroughly indoctrinated.
electrical.
Yes, you're thoroughly
indoctrinated.
indoctrinated.
I'm indoctrinated, even though I can actually prove to you that you live in the federal government of the United States of America and you don't live in the country of Michigan.
I do live in the country of Michigan.
You don't live in the country of Michigan. You live in the state of Michigan, which is thus inside the United States of America because it's controlled by the federal government. Yes.
No,
you can't. Here's my question to you. Then why can't California separate itself from the United States of America?
I started to answer that question. Are you going to let me finish answering it, or are you going to interrupt me again because you can't handle the truth? Which one?
No, the truth is you're a fucking moron. That's the truth.
You're going to let me answer it, or what?
Yeah, tell me how you separate a state from a federal country.
Well, that was happening in the Civil War, like I told you, because of the federal overreach in taxation, right? And attempting to tell the South what to do with their property, which again was a federal overreach. And the states absolutely had the right to secede because they were sovereign over the federal government. The federal government only has the powers delegated to it by the Constitution. Where the hell did he go? Did he removed himself, apparently. Okay. Well, anyways, long story short, the corporate union territorially occupied the several states, okay, and has maintained that territorial occupation ever since, ever expanding their jurisdictional authority. They usurped the sovereignty of the states by usurping the citizenry of the states through the 14th Amendment. That's why I was showing him that one may be a citizen and voter of the state and yet not a citizen of the United States over here in McDonald v. State, right here. Look. Although he was not a citizen of the United States, he was a citizen and voter of the state under Section 2 of Article 2 of our state constitution. One may be a citizen of the state, yet not a citizen of the United States. We can go to Black's Law, and we can zoom in here. And let's scroll over. The 14th Amendment. It became part of the organic law July 28, 1868, and its importance entitles it to special mention. It creates, or at least recognizes for the first time, a citizen of the United States as distinct from that of the states, right? So for the first time. And I don't even know why I'm arguing with this guy. I've got, hold on, let me pull this up real quick. I don't know why I haven't pulled this up yet, but this is one of the best examples of exactly what I'm talking about. And this is going to be GPO, Government Printing Office, right? 1967. There we go. So this, for those of you who've never seen it, is House Congressional Record. Are you there, Trayak or whatever? Are you there still? Yeah?
Yeah, so can you pull up the definition of corporation? It's Google corporation definition, please.
I want to show you this. You see this is House Congressional Record, June 13th, 1967, page 15641, directly off congress.gov. I downloaded it. The 14th Amendment, equal protection law or tool of usurpation. Who would be usurping what? Would that be the federal corporation usurping state sovereignty? Yes.
Yeah.
And
can you Google the definition of corporation?
I don't know. Why am I going to Google anything? I don't use
just want to define terms, first law of logic.
So a corporation is a form of a trust. That's what it is.
Yeah, but can you just Google the definition? So we're all on the same page.
No, I'm not going to Google it. I'm showing you this. This is more important. This is direct evidence of what I'm talking about. Look
a definition of corporation is a group of people elected to govern a city, town, or borough.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a
definition. So all you're really doing is just point towards a different word that you can use to define nation.
No, absolutely not. The United States is a foreign. Are you from fucking Ireland and you're trying to tell me about
every nation is technically?
Get the fuck out of here, dude. The United States is a foreign corporation, period. 100%. So a government is and always will be a trust. A corporation is a form of a trust. You can loosely associate a de jure government with a corporation. But in our country, unlike your backward fucking country, the people are the sovereignty. So that's what's going on here. We got Roger Ledwell joined us. So anyways, this right here is a perfect example. 14th Amendment, equal protection law or tool of usurpation. And I can't stress this enough. The reason they usurped the citizenry of the several states and territorially occupied them was to be able to use us and our resources as collateral to borrow money from the Federal Reserve, placing you under a trust indenture and allowing them to appropriate money carte blanche for your benefit and enrich themselves for philanthropically providing for you as an infant. Okay. 100%. So 14th Amendment, and it was never lawfully ratified. So this was actually a discussion had on the floor of the House of Representatives in 1967. And they determined that the 14th Amendment needed 3/4 of the states right here. So let's see if I can zoom in and scroll over for you guys.
Right.
Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question? So do I need to file those papers? Like, you have to serve these bastards about your house seal and establishing your house and all of that before driving without license plate. So is this true or not? Yes or no? Basically, I'm trying to know.
Yes, you want to claim your estate 100%. You want to renounce the 14th Amendment citizenship so you have grounds. You have grounds to actually say, I am not under the trust indenture. I'm not required to be, I'm not under federal territorial jurisdiction, so I'm not required to be licensed, or I'm not engaged in commercial activity. Do you know what I mean?
I got you. So I have to file those papers before I can drive without those things, right?
But you don't even want to call it, because driving is commercial. You got to learn. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm talking for, Okay, so before I travel, and so once I do that, I can, do that, and they can whatever arrest me and bulldozer me and get me in jail, county jail, and then they'll be fucked. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you mean through the performance contract is what
but
you're
I
saying?
have to obviously be out of because they can find somehow by a miracle.
You have, first thing you need to do, Val, is get off paper, because you're under that contract first and foremost. And there's no matter what, they can just throw you in jail and make you fight your way out, right? When you're on probation.
Yes, I got you about the probation.
Right.
And the birth certificate, which is Russian, obviously, and doesn't exist. And how do I deal with that? Because that jerk, effed off everything. Like, I was focused on other things.
Well, that's the very unique and tricky part of your case.
Yes,
Once you get off
but
probation,
I'm not the only one. There is a lot of people.
there's a couple people, yeah, that have.
So would you address that, please, somehow? I don't know when.
Yeah,
Because
of course.
think about this. If we are like, we can drive without any license plate and all of that, like who the F
Well,
cares?
first and foremost, Lyra or Val, here's the first and foremost thing. Is the thing I tell everybody all the time. There is no silver bullet. Do you know what I mean? There's no silver bullet. So what you're doing when you file your claim and when you renounce the 14th Amendment citizenship and you claim your status as one of the people and you start getting allodial titles for your properties, what you're doing is you're giving yourself the standing and the lawful authority to fight them, right? But you still are 9 times out of 10 going to have to fight them. They're going to try to extort you always. They're always going to try to extort you. Until they figure out, like, if you live in a certain area and they try it a couple times and you kick their ass, then they know not to mess with you. Then it'll stop. But originally, it's always going to be, they're always going to try you. That's just how it is. And so you have to know what you're doing. You have to know, like, how this is illegitimate. What are they doing when you don't have a license plate? Well, they're trying to cause you injury for not conveying the right of your property to the state to be used as collateral for the debt. Right? Because you're not giving controlling interest to your property over to the state, they want to ticket you. They want to create an attachment and charge you. When you know how to explain that and understand how that is actually what's happening, and that they are the ones committing a crime, you have the lawful justification by having your claim on the record. You're one of the people. You've acquired, say, even if you've got a junk title or a manufacturer's certificate of origin for your conveyance, then you've got even more standing. You see what I'm saying? And it's all about your standing. Yeah, and your ability to enforce your rights at law, as opposed to trying to receive some equitable relief from the mercy of a judge.
No, they're not judges.
Right.
Would you? I'm crazy, but if you ever could record an interaction with the cop when they stop you without license plate when you're driving, and show them the finger in a good way, obviously. Maybe we could, know how to deal with this. That would be awesome if you could.
What do you mean?
Like, for example, you are driving without a license plate and they stop you, and what do you tell them?
Well, you create a packet, like with.
No, I mean, you would inspire all of us. Like, we don't, we know, but we understand how and what, but it's like, it's practice. It's like dancing. You have to practice it.
I had some, let me see. I had some other videos I wanted to show you.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I'm not sure if any of these have officer interactions. I was hoping I would, but maybe I'll look for some. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be a case by case thing. Like, I could role play, but it just depends on the cop and how they respond. So they come up and they say,
that would be the hottest things anybody would say.
License, registration, proof of insurance, right? That whole thing, and say, what crime, what's the emergency? I need your license registered. See, it depends. Either he's going to answer my question or he's going to repeat himself, be a dick. But either way, I'm going to say, what's the emergency? And you say, you were speeding. You say, well, have I committed a crime? Well, you were speeding. Is that a crime? And because the nexus point is I'm trying to get him, is he enforcing law or is he enforcing contract? And that's what I need him to understand or to admit or to show that he doesn't understand. So I'd be like, is that a crime? And be like, well, yeah, it's against the law. Well, no, isn't it against code? Well, code is law. No, it's not. Is it a crime? A crime requires a victim. Have I harmed somebody? I'm not going to do this with you. What are you, one of them sovereign citizens? No, I'm one of the people of the state of Michigan, right? I have the right to travel freely in my property, So what gives you the authority to tell me how to use my property? Or
they don't care. They still arrested me. So
hold on. What gives the state the authority right? You notice there's no license plate on my car because the state doesn't have an interest in this property. Okay. And so if the state had a superior interest in this property, if this car had the state's name on it, then obviously it could tell me how to use it, but it does not, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I would like to be, free to go on my way, continuing my travels. I've done nothing wrong. And then it just depends on how it goes from there, So that's how I would handle it. Or at least, one of the ways, like I said, it all depends on the officer, really, and how militant they are, and how big their ego is, because that's another big factor when it comes to cops. But the more you know, and the better that you see the situation as it actually exists, the easier it is for you to be adaptable based on the different scenarios and situations. You know what I mean? So, let's see, what was this one I was going to show you guys? I got to stop and represent it as an individual tab. So I'm not sure. I think this is one that Gino sent us. Let's see what it is. Why is this not?
Number 1.
There we go.
Here's 20 of the most savage, fact-based, soul-crushing lines. No fluff, just pure etheric justice for these badge-wearing mercenaries. Number 1. You're not law enforcement. You're contract collectors and cosplay, harassing sovereigns like bounty hunters for corporate courts.
Yep.
Number 2. You swore an oath to the Constitution but serve traffic tickets like it's communion. Your badge is a lie and your loyalty's for sale. Number 3. You arrest free men on the land, not for crimes, but for codes. And that makes you a domestic enemy, not a protector.
That's true.
Number 4. You're not peace officers. You're revenue agents for a bankrupt system that feeds off fear and control. Number 5.
It's true.
Every time you cuff a traveler for no license, you declare war on the very freedom you swore to defend. Number 6. Your squad car ain't a chariot of justice. It's a rolling billboard for tyranny dressed up in blue. Number 7.
I'm not even really sure that cops are under the illusion that they are like heroes or that they're fighting for freedom. I think that most cops nowadays, like the newer generations, are pretty they pretty much understand that they're just kind of like tyrants, like they're kind of like the modern SS, if you will. Not all of them. Some cops are okay, but like as far as their personalities, I still don't agree with the policy. But
you're not enforcing law, you're enforcing policy, and policy ain't law unless we consent, which we never did. Number 8. Your badge don't grant you authority. It exposes your fraud. The people are the authority, not some city charter.
Exactly.
Number 9. Qualified immunity. That's just your hall pass for oppression. You're scared of accountability because you know you're wrong. Number 10. You show up to a peaceful man's home with guns drawn like stormtroopers pretending it's about safety. It's terrorism with paperwork. Number 11. A real hero defends the weak. You extort them with citations, and when they resist, you beat them down. That's not service, that's cowardice. Number 12. Every ticket you write, every unlawful arrest you make, you break your oath and spit on the Bill of Rights. Number 13. You're not stopping crime, you're inventing it to keep your pensions fat and your departments bloated.
Yeah.
Number 14. You call us sovereign citizens like it's an insult. No, that's just projection from a corporate employee with a delusion of power. Number 15. If tyranny ever had a uniform, it would be yours. Shiny boots, weaponized ego, and a manual of statutes you don't even understand. 16. You enforce the law like a robot, but ignore the Constitution like it's optional. That's why the people are rising. Number 17. You don't keep the peace, you disturb it, escalate it, and blame it on us when you crack skulls to keep quotas. Number 18. You don't work for the people, you work for the system. and the system is collapsing under its own corruption. Number 19. Every time you enforce unlawful orders, you forfeit your honor and build your legacy in shame. Number 20. And when judgment comes, and it's coming, no badge, no rank, no corrupt union will protect you from the truth. Man, couldn't we just keep going with that? But anyways, 20 of the most savage, fact-based, soul-crushing lines, no fluff, just pure etheric justice for these badge-wearing mercies.
That's pretty funny. Like Andrew said, Andrew over here, he says cops need to have a IQ lower than 110. I think this issue went to court. There was a story I remember reading that this guy, he took the IQ test to become a police officer, and he scored too high and they denied him the job. So he ended up suing the police department for discrimination. And I can't remember how it turned out. I think they said that the department was allowed to do that or something, but they need people smart enough to be able to enforce the policies, but too dumb to realize that they're not actually just or lawful policies. So it's pretty, that's those were pretty good though. And yeah, almost every bit of that was 100% true. So let me see, what was this one other thing? Is there one other thing? So there's this Brandon Joe Williams guy, and I guess I can take this opportunity to, I think this is a little bit above maybe, I don't know. We'll check it. We'll see what we'll see what you guys think of it. If you guys don't really get it or it's not interesting, let me know, because I find it interesting, just the financial aspect. And this Brandon Joe Williams guy, he knows a lot about the Uniform Commercial Code and the whole security scheme. The issue is, though, the acceptance for value thing. Lawfully, they should do the acceptance for value. They should do it. And so there is that aspect of, the gold clause and HJR 192, I believe, whatever it is, the one they did regarding the Treasury having to discharge debts with gold or settle debts with gold, discharge debts. It would be the consideration as part of the mortgage of your estate as one of the people, and them not being able to take your property without just compensation, which is why that you have to be a United States citizen for them. They have to always see you as a 14th Amendment citizen, a federal franchise, because if you were one of the people of the states, they would owe you money for taking your estate and mortgaging it to create the security scheme for the federal corporation, which is technically foreign to you as one of the people of the states. So they would owe you, and part of owing you would be discharging municipal debts created by the trust indenture, which is the mortgage of your estates. But they'll never do it. If they did it, their whole system would collapse. So they'll never do it. So it's just my opinion that, there's going to be something else that comes about when things get figured out, that it's just, I don't see them discharging the securities through the Treasury. I mean, it'd be cool if they did it one day, but I haven't seen a case of it. And if anybody knows of Brandon Joe Williams or anybody having successfully done it, I'd be interested, but I don't subscribe to it, and I don't see it happening. But anyways, this is interesting.
What's the same thing?
But why did you send the bill of exchange? Why didn't you just send a check?
What's the same thing? See, there was a
no. A bill of exchange is a promise to pay. A check is
promise to pay.
It's an order to pay.
Well, same thing.
This form that you sent, I guess there was additional steps that we had to make to receive payment, and that's not a type of payment that we accept. I mean, if you want to make a payment, if you want to pay because that would have paid the loan off, and if you want to pay it off, you can send a check, a cashier's check, you can come and pay in cash, anything like that.
But like the paper money that's in what the bank hands out, 20s, 10s, 50s, those are notes, right?
That's currency. That's cash currency.
Right, which isn't, but it says right on it, Federal Reserve note, which a note is a negotiable instrument.
Correct.
So is a promissory note.
But what you cut out, what?
But so is a promissory note.
A promissory note is a promise to pay a debt.
So isn't that's what a Federal Reserve
is an order to pay.
I didn't say check. I said Federal Reserve notes are negotiable instruments, the same as a promissory note.
We don't accept the bill of exchange as payment. We have to take an additional step. I think you sent a form. I don't know if we had to fill out information to get the payment, but you're more than willing, more than welcome to pay via check, cashier's check, cash, anything like that. Why did you send a bill of exchange?
Because it's legal tender. It's tender of payment. What do you mean, where did I get it from?
Who issued it? What bank is it drawn on?
It's drawn on my trust.
It's drawn on what?
My trust.
What's the bank?
It's the Social Security Sister K Trust.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
See, there was a letter that come with that. Have you seen that yet?
So you funded the trust?
No, I'm the beneficiary.
Okay. Who's holding the funds?
Yeah, the beneficiary.
I'm the beneficiary. That's not part of what I know.
So right there, that's where they don't understand that about being this situation is that when your estate comes under administration, you are the beneficiary of the estate. Like, being the beneficiary is not the same as being the heir or the controlling interest of the estate. The beneficiaries actually has no control. They're only given snippets of the estate in the form of benefits. So all paupers who settle their estates with whoever they become a charge to, they become the beneficiaries of their own estates, and then their estates are administered and managed and controlled by whoever is providing the benefit. That's what this government services corporation does now. It wasn't always that way. You used to be able to have absolute control over your estate. So, yeah. Anyways, with that, guys, it's getting late, and it's been quite an evening, I think, with a couple of combative people. Some people you just can't reach, though. When people are incapable of grasping certain concepts or understanding history, like real history, when you're showing people black and white congressional record, law, case law, Supreme Court, it's like, and they're just like, well, no, it's like, well, dude, I can't talk to you then. This is just a disruptive situation. So you have to end it, But anyways, thank you guys for joining me this evening, and I will see you this weekend for sure. All right. Have a good night, guys.